Call our select board meeting to order, December 18th, 2017. We just completed an hour at the library, taking a look at their planned edition, and they've refined their options to one recommendation, and they're going to do a feasibility study in January and see how that goes, but maybe some activity, serious activity, not in 18, but maybe 2019. Are there adjustments to the agenda?
We may want to talk about scheduling, potentially additional 1 or 2 meetings in January for the budget. See how we do today and see how things look as far as, basically we want to have the final budget by January 22nd and then 2 regular meetings January 8th and 22nd.
So as we go through the discussion, we might want to have, as you say, a budget meeting, another special, which would be a special meeting to kind of have it all ready. So when we go to the 22nd, it's kind of complete, you know, that we've thought about it a couple of times. Another subject, we should probably have a meeting regarding zoning administrator. Maybe consider meeting with the planning commission, see where we go. They're going to meet Thursday, I understand, and don't want to wait too long. So as we get through the meeting tonight, think about it. Maybe we can suggest a date we could all get together. Public comment? Nothing heard? Updates from the select board?
Nothing exciting.
7 days later.
What was that?
7 days later.
Okay, 7 days later. So we're 5 minutes early, Board of Listers. Are we okay?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. We don't have a handout though, right? Or was there a late one?
There is one.
Yeah.
In the packet?
Yeah.
Yeah, my package is just so messed up right now.
I thought it was like right on the top of the packet.
Wow.
It says Dear Select Board.
Yeah.
Oh, the Dear Select Board?
Yeah, previous current
Oh, okay, got it. Yep. I wonder what that was.
I know
Okay.
I was coming into this meeting
So,
with.
I'll just explain, it's 2 errors and omissions. One is
That's right.
that the Life Estate property had to be subdivided. It was after we turned over the ground house to the select board. So current use made us separate, there were 2 owners who were part of that Life Estate, so we had to separate that. We did with each, their assigned properties that their mother gave to them. So, and then there was the VCAM acquisition, which, there was a house that forgot to be taken off the cost sheet. It was removed, but it wasn't off the cost sheet,
Is PBM like in Point Bay Marina?
so, yes. So those are the 2 errors and omissions.
So there should be a motion from us to accept this handout, or is there?
Yeah, just because the ground list is yours once it's lodged, and so it's just saying, look, I made these corrections, so that you're aware of it and approve of it.
Okay. So this isn't dated. Should we date it today and then refer to it?
Probably a good idea.
12/18?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2017-18 grand list as submitted by the Charlotte Board of Listers on December 18th, 2017, pursuant to VSA Section 4261.
Seconded?
I'll second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Darn.
Oh, wow. Next item is the Clark Hinsdale request for highway access permit? Do you think he'll be here, or?
I would have thought he
I
was
would.
here, maybe you want a few minutes, and then,
Wait a couple minutes?
yeah.
Or do minutes?
What-
Minutes are on the table for, December 11th.
Okay. We could probably do the select board budget if we're, as well, if we get this done.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of December 11th, as may be amended.
Second?
On that line 5051, what is that, do we need to know what account that is? Revenues for account up 9.4 cent, what is that for?
I think that's Thompson's point.
Says Ms. Mead said that she's recommending increase in revenues to account for this 9.4 cent increase, 805 versus 780. What's that refer to? Is that Thompson's point?
Yes, it's referred to the state increasing the national tax rate.
So that's Thompson's Point land?
Thompson's Point, rent, right.
Right. Anybody have any other comments?
No, but I'm gonna read it.
All in favor of the motion? Indicate by saying aye. Aye. You think it's appropriate to go through the select board budget?
Sure.
Okay.
So on the handout, I'll just go through, but if you have any questions, feel free to stop. Minute taker salary. Based on the actual, I recommended 3,500. Town administrator,
Which is down from the year we're in now. Oh, budget is 4,500.
yes. Town administrator, based on the pay grade change last year, it stays the same unless there's a cost of living increase. Legal expenses, you had added 5,000 last year for the bond,
Yep.
so I'm suggesting bringing it to 45,000.
So how are we doing this year? Legal expenses.
There,
111,457, July to October 31st.
So I was looking at what Mary handed out, the 1218.
Today.
Huh? So let's see what's the line item number? Legal expenses, okay, so, oh, this doesn't have that. Well, that's
actual.
prior year actual, doesn't have
To date.
year to date, okay.
It's in the notes on the budget sheet, which said 11,457 through October 31st, 2017, which is the most current
Okay,
bill that we have received that day.
nice. Through October 31st, got it. So that's 1/4 of the year. So times 4 is 44,000, so that would say you're on target then.
A third of the year.
What about the lantern?
4
July, August, September, you're right.
It's even better.
End of the month, that's right. So, that's good.
Will we have pending?
Mary's,
What about the old lantern?
Do we think we're gonna have expenses there? So the lawyer's been asked to make presents for it, right? For
May-
Old Lantern,
Has been asked to what?
have a presence.
Um,
appearance.
the trial's been canceled, so, the, leading up to the trial, they went through a series of, I guess, asking the court to rule on various pieces of information, and what they came up with was the ordinance that used to be in place is not eligible to be reviewed. It's not in the jurisdiction of the Environmental Division of Superior Court. So the appellant withdrew the appeal. And that's where things currently stand. But there was a lot of legal time spent in advance of that, which has not been, that was in November, December.
What's the future recourse options for the account? That would be an exposure for the town.
I've heard there is a possibility they may seek that to have the town enforce the ordinance, which apparently the last license that was issued was 1972. So the fact that there's an ordinance was new information, at least to me. So there hasn't been, I guess we haven't determined whether it's legally enforceable or not.
So that could take some research, presentation to the court if it comes. So there could be some money spent there.
True, yep.
Yes, Mary?
I was just under the impression that even though the appeal for this was dropped, that all the zoning decisions that have ever had to do with the old lantern, you will spend money.
Okay.
So that's what I meant, like, what about the old lantern? Because that's out there as an unknown.
So to the point of what we've spent to date is 11,000 spent, times 3 makes 12 months, thanks to the math. That's 33,000. We have 45,000 in the budget. That should help cover some of the unknowns, of which that would be one of them.
So I mean,
We
Huh?
don't have November or December bills yet.
And we have 1/3 of the year in. What do you think about that, Mary?
That's not what I was talking about, what we've already spent.
But it's an indicator for a 12-month spread, right?
Well, the town hasn't been sued. The dispute between the old lantern and the neighbors, it's been between them. And yes, we've made an appearance and we have been involved, which is what you're seeing here. But if they go the next route, which is to sue the town, that's what I'm talking about.
I understand that.
So
So,
just taking 11,457 and dividing it by 4 and multiply by 12 and say, oh, 35,000 is a good number for legal fees.
right,
All I'm saying is, you might want to bump that up because there is an unknown out there that doesn't seem to go away.
okay. Okay. The board want to increase it?
Well, this leaves us with a, like you said, a $10,000
I know.
cushion.
Right, already we have a $10,000 cushion.
As if something happens this year, and then this is looking at the next, you know.
Oh, yeah,
that's- the
that's
cushion
another good
is
point.
until
This
July
starts-
1st.
That's right, July 1st
So,
of next year.
No carryover cushion.
right. But I would assume that they would start some proceedings within 6 months.
Well, we'll keep that in mind when we
So,
finalize it.
Good to leave it where it is right now then?
Yeah.
We'll have another number by then or something, another few
we're
weeks
talking
when we're finalizing it.
What's customary when it comes to appeals for zoning, that both parties cover their costs regardless of fault? It's not like other cases? Or are legal fees incurred by the party that's
Well, I'm hearing we're gonna have to.
not in favor?
I think we're each on our own, but I think we're gonna have to defend, as Mary just said, any old ordinances, like they've researched, they found this old ordinance. And
I guess my point is, if the court ends up finding the town not at fault and in the right, are our legal expenses paid for as part of the proceedings? Or is that not customary?
Should
with-
be.
I don't
should
think so.
If we're not at fault, then I think each party pays their own.
Okay, so I'm kind of hearing a consensus, we're gonna leave it the way it is right now.
Unanticipated expenses, 0. Town party, 0. Volunteer recognition, holiday party. As you know, we didn't plan a party this year, and I don't know if that was a factor of the budget or what. So I don't know whether you want to change that or not.
So the town party's 4th of July, so the library's doing their book thing,
Yeah.
so
and
that's
the
why that was
beach-
zeroed.
Beach party is doing their thing too.
They're doing their thing. So, yeah, there's been no activity for the seasonal party that we're in now. If anybody has any comments, it's currently proposed at 0, is that all right?
Leave it at 0.
Okay,
Jerry Swartz doesn't live here anymore. That's why there's no party. He's the one who started it.
Volunteer recognition party at $3,000 this year.
oh, excuse, oh,
Yes, the next line.
It's the next one.
oh, sorry.
The volunteer,
The volunteer recognition, yeah. Leave that the way it is, or, that's volunteer and holiday, okay, sorry. What's
Yeah,
your-
that's typically been the winter party.
Right. So that's at 1430, what you've put in right now. Is that right?
No, that was spent in FY '17.
Is that your,
I didn't have a recommendation. I guess I didn't know if there's an interest in continuing with that party or with not continuing with it, in which case you would zero it.
Do you want a party, Fritz?
I don't particularly need one.
during
I
zero?
was thinking, since you didn't plan one this year, maybe you don't want to plan one again, and so maybe it should just be zero, because
Okay.
nothing was planned this time.
Sounds like we're at zero. Okay. Advertising?
I suggested 1,500. There's plans for amendments both to the town plan and to the land use regulations. 11,057 was spent last year. We've spent 981 mostly for advertising the vacancy for the zoning administrator. Hopefully that will be filled. But there will be hearings for the town plan and land use regulations, I'm expecting. Seminars, I suggest reducing to 400. Mileage reducing to 100. And membership dues keep at 85. Well, I guess it was at 200. It could be 85, as far as I'm concerned. Maybe we could stop there and let the recreation folks do their budget. Or their recreation facilities.
Okay, you want to stop there then? So get on schedule again for recreation.
Couldn't you? Congratulations on that little baby. I don't think I've seen you. How old is he now? 9 weeks. Oh, 9 weeks already. Yeah, yeah.
She's still awake. You're still awake.
So, wait.
Good evening.
All right, what?
So we have had a very active commission, and that tethered with Nicole's pretty amazing sort of organization. I would have to summarize recreation as being on kind of a really strong
That's not amplification, but it's for VCAM.
Oh, sorry. I would have to emphasize, I think, that recreation right now is on a really strong path. And with that in mind, the general consensus of recreation is that our facilities are declining and under level budget funding of the previous 10 years, basically. We have been able to maintain the facilities, but only to the standard to which they had originally been intended. They have not been improved at all and are probably, given the time frame, in decline. So we have proposed basically a capital fund. For what we're trying to do is build up a capital fund for recreation, which would be used basically for capital improvements and to the facilities that we manage. And if you'd like to look at your package, I'll run through them briefly. All of them should have sustaining documents with them. First of all, we have talked about the tennis courts. I think several of you have actually seen them. Ongoing maintenance will be annually now a minimum of $1,500 to $2,000 just to fill the cracks that are there. There is a proposal from 2 providers, one in post-tension concrete and one in asphalt, to redo the courts. We'd also like to propose, based on our increased attendance at the beach, slightly expanding the beach parking lot in the area that it is now. I can stop now if you want to ask me about specific items to do with the tennis courts, or I can go through the entire thing, and then you can ask me questions at the end. Okay. So beach parking lot, we would like to expand slightly on the northeast section. That's shown, the area is shown, and we have a quote from that from Junior. The beach playground has been around a long time. We've changed it slightly to abide by the Vermont League of City and Towns requirements for ADA, but otherwise it has remained unchanged since I've been in tenure, 12, 15 years. And it is in need of upgrading. Things are actually starting to break on it, let's put it that way, which probably is not an area that we want to have happen. The Little League field, and it's as you said, as we've said in the title here, it's a Little League field. Obviously, the Little League has moved, so that field is not getting the use which it potentially could, and we'd like to expand upon that to make it a regular softball, baseball field, which means expanding the bases slightly.
At the beach, Little League field, that field at the beach.
Sorry?
Lake Field.
It's the lake field.
Yes, sorry, yeah. And we do have somebody that would like to, a member of the board is, who actually has expanded pickleball quite considerably in town, and is now, pickleball is a very well-attended regular event, both on the tennis courts and now in the winter up at CCS. And we'd like to put in, next to the horseshoes, a pétanque bocce sand court. Again, not a huge expense, but something that we feel, with our potentially aging demographic, might be of possible interest to the town. And then the playground you have in your sheet, and what Nicole has done beautifully is basically break those expenses out and amortize them over a period of time, as you had requested, I think, at our last meeting.
Bathhouse improvements is blank.
I beg your pardon?
Bathhouse improvements.
Yes. Why don't we have a number there?
They hadn't gotten back to, the person that did the project hadn't gotten back to us in terms of like what they would like to do exactly. I think there was a lot of ideas, and
Right.
some of them were pretty extensive, like putting a kitchen for catering and different things like that. It was very exciting, but I think that the main one was the list that
Right.
they sent me. So I'm not sure if the bathhouse improvement is just something that they want to do a little bit over time with some of the money that we have in beach maintenance, or what. But
What's happened, Fritz, too, I was just reminded, we had vandalism down there towards the end of the season again. Some of the siding was torn off, and that would basically be under beach maintenance, and we've covered it under beach maintenance. But I think the improvements are in that the siding has not been changed on that 15, 20 years. We could use some new siding.
Well, there was talk at a previous meeting about doing stuff to the bathhouse to
Yes.
make it.
Yeah. The occasional toilet, the occasional urinal, the sink,
Well, that stuff
whatever.
is maintenance then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the general gist of where we're headed, and there are some big numbers. But I think if we are to promote Charlotte, we need to maintain our facilities.
So remind me, do we, what is the status of Recreation Capital Reserve Fund? Is there one right this
Yes.
minute? And what's the
Yes.
balance of that?
It's approximately $5,000, if I'm not mistaken.
Where do we
but
see
you
that?
can-
The line item is, of the latest budget sheet we have is page 14. It's 100-9952, transfer to recreation.
Yep, I see it, yep. Okay, so that's the fund. So, that doesn't show you the balance, it
Right.
just shows you what we put into it.
Correct.
Okay.
I think actually it might be a little bit less than 5,000 because we did fund the dock, some dock improvements, I think, out of that, and also disc golf. No, okay, disc golf,
Not an improvement in the area. Disc golf,
where did the money come from the golf?
From maintenance?
the disc golf came out of the capital.
Thank
Right,
you.
disc golf, 1,200 it looks like.
Something that, Mary, maybe you can answer this. I believe that we were trying to do some research on fundraising and the ability for the town to actually make money from outside events at the beach, et cetera, et cetera. And there was some concern over whether we can do that. And did you get any further with your inquiries, Mary? Our goal is to try to use the facility down there, not only improve it with these particular items and maintain it, but also then to use it as a form of income for the town, not necessarily just for town residents, but then also for outside revenues.
So let's say we picked one of these scenarios. 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. So when we win or if we select one of these, no one of these items, I mean, let's say we pick the 10-year, $27,000. So would that notionally be saved, or would you be fixing those things that, like the parking lot, I mean, things that would fall under that? I mean, how do you deal with
disperse
this?
them? Yeah. Good question. I would say that we would want to prioritize our wish list, shall we say? And I think the first thing that would need to be done is this: some sort of reserve needs to be set aside for the tennis courts. They are huge capital expenditure, and I think we need to fund those on an ongoing basis. The other items, I would say, would be of a less priority. And I'm not quite sure how you would want us to delineate that, but I agree with you that there's a need to delineate the tennis court replacement / repair as a separate, as an entity unto itself.
And there's
Would you
also,
agree?
there's
Yeah.
also grants that you can get for the playground, there's different, things that we can obtain as well, but, I mean, if we go through like the first year and we say, we really need to extend the parking lot because we're having more concerts or more events, then we say, okay, we have that money set aside, but we still have that 21,000 the 21,000 we're setting aside for the tennis court replacement. So I think it's all in kind of the need, and also just working with you, as a select board to say, okay, what do we think is most important? What would you like to see the money going to, and trying to really just accomplish, like Bill said, the tennis courts is a huge need, and then everybody else had different ideas that would really enhance the beach, so.
The other thing about the tennis courts that we kind of did some number crunching a couple meetings ago, Bill mentioned that about $1,500 to $2,000 a year needs to be spent to fix cracks with issues with drainage and a kind of wet spot, old clay. They're chronic maintenance issues. The proposal they got is for a 25-year structurally guaranteed court. So I took $2,000 a year times 25 years of maintenance on the courts we have, and that's $50,000 we're spending to keep courts hobbling along and preventing people from tripping on them. So if we took that we wouldn't be spending on a guaranteed court with new material, off of the $190,000, now you have a $140,000 tennis court for the town. Divide that by the 25 years, and that's $5,600 a year that the town would be spending on the tennis courts. So, you know, that is a much more reasonable number when you think about how expensive tennis courts are and what a kind of good value the town is getting by proactively getting ahead of this kind of maintenance nightmare.
How do you deal with that? Let's say you pick one of these options and you don't have money in the bank to do the job, you gotta wait X years, so you're gonna sort of spend the money each year
Well,
until we have a balance in the bank.
I think what's worked well with fire and rescue is a hybrid bonding for something big, but stocking a medium amount each year into the reserve fund, knowing that there will be annual expenses that are also chunks. So, you know, we could probably pretty quickly, again, get the numbers for a $140,000 20-year bond on a 25-year guaranteed structure, and, you know, see what that payment is a year. My guess is it's going to be a pretty reasonable number. We could put that into the fund every year just for the tennis courts. Then what we're looking at is somewhere around $90,000 when you do the playground and the other three items. So that's much easier to envision funding over, you know, a 10-year fund cycle. You know, I think we'd be looking at maybe putting in 15 to 20 a year and being able to have the courts sooner than later and not throwing money into maintenance that doesn't have the facility that we could have.
Well, if you looked at doing most of these things in the immediate future, it'd basically be a bond, not a reserve fund.
Well, this is how you would pay for it, though.
Well, you
What
would
he's
just say if you got a bond for $174,000 starting next year, what's the payment out of 15 years? You can set up a fund and fund your bond out of it, but if you're gonna pay for it all, because most of these things seem like they're in the immediate future and not in the 5-10 years out. I mean, if the tennis courts and the playground are the two big ticket items, and if the playground stuff is breaking and the tennis courts are falling apart, you're basically looking to do most of this stuff in I would guess, the next couple of years. So you could do the same approach as opposed to setting up a reserve fund. You know, you just call it a reserve fund and have the bond payment in there, or however you want to do it. But it would be mostly, it looks to me like most of this should be, if it's to be done, should be funded in the near future, which would, a reserve fund kind of doesn't work for that. A reserve fund is if you're going to fund this in 10 years when it breaks.
Right, but we're gonna do it.
If you want to do it quick, you just have a bond, and you could call it a reserve fund, or you could just make it a bond payment for those two items and leave the small things in the.
In the reserve fund.
So we want to have an investigation of what a bond would cost for the two large items, playground and
How does a bond fit into
265.
I haven't seen in the 4 years I've been on the board a bond done not with a reserve fund. So is that something that is just put in as a separate line item? And it's a bond payment for 20 years in the town budget? How does that, where is a
how
bond
do you pay
accounted
for
for?
it if you take a bond? What-
Or just where does it show up on the general fund ledger? Like the bonds for the fire station vehicles are all on their ledgers. We just send over a bond payment from our reserve fund. I haven't seen us,
I think Mo's gonna
it's in their
answer
capital reserve fund, which is the model that I'm familiar with.
What page you on?
This is 2015,
Oh,
but it shows the equipment that they bought, how many years the bond was for, and what the yearly payment.
well, this is fire and rescue.
Right, and that's out of the reserve fund, but let's say the town wanted to add on to the town hall and bond it, where would that show up in the general
Would you-
fund ledger?
I guess would you need to start a reserve fund to track the payments, or you just have a bond payment line?
Yeah.
Either
If you
one.
do the bond payment, you can do the stuff up front. If you do a reserve fund, you can't do it
Right.
all up front. That's the problem.
But Fritz's question to Mary is, do you set up an account called recreational bond? And then put that amount of money in it, then it'd be funded each year for that amount?
Since you already have the reserve fund, it seems like you could fund
Just-
recreation through the reserve fund. If it was for the town hall, you would probably set up
Fund the
separate-
reserve fund with the bond, and
Yeah.
then you would pay for it, okay.
So I guess we're asking Dean to take a look what it would cost for a bond for 265, is that the number you guys?
Well, I'd get two separate ones.
Yeah.
Tennis court for 190 and beach playground for 75.
Is there a processing charge though for bonds?
Or you're saying together, or
Separate, you're saying two separate.
two,
Separate, so you get we may look at it and say, well, it's only bond for one because it costs so much money.
Yeah, and we'll do a similar thing, a 10-year or 15-year, depending on what they allow.
I'd say give us the option of combining them, I thought there was a, legal
there is a,
research.
Fixed.
Remember we had 5,000 set aside for the,
there's a fixed
Fire
cost, yeah.
Okay, so maybe three, a tennis, a beach, and a combined?
yeah,
Right.
And then
Yeah.
a 10-year, a 15-year, and
Yeah.
whatever the max year might be,
Yeah.
20 or 30.
What's
So
the average lifespan of
3, 6, we'll get
Yeah, I don't know.
non-total.
playground equipment?
I don't know right now. The ones that are there now, there's sort of wood involved. I don't think they make things out of wood anymore.
The school's old playground. So it's-
Was it?
So, yeah. so-
Okay, so it was relocated from the school, so it's been probably 20 years there.
You wouldn't want to bond for anything past the
Right.
projected
I
life.
don't think
So,
the capital bond bank would allow it. I remember with the ambulance, we couldn't
Right.
bond as long as we
Yeah.
could for a fire truck.
So the new playgrounds are plastic, so they're forever, so you can.
Right.
yeah, no, I know.
Also, where did you get I wasn't there for the playground estimate.
That's the,
Is that a comparable from,
that's the playground estimate actually from Deb Stone. We've got Rodney, one of our members,
Santino.
Rodney Santino, working on other estimates. All of his estimates actually so far are a little less than that, but he has not got them, their estimates so far, he hasn't got them in writing. So that's why we don't have them for you.
great. So,
But that's from the playground that Deb designed. And it would be, that's a maximum number.
Yeah.
That's a maximum number.
and you think the turnaround on that could still be within this budget?
For getting rates?
Yeah.
Yeah, that rate's great, yeah.
so that takes care of the two large items, so it'll be a figure. Then you have the residual,
9,000 for the
9,000.
field expansion, the parking lot extension, and the bocce court.
Want to put that over a couple of years kind of thing?
Sure, and put that in our
40.
capital fund.
45 and 45 covered for 2 years. And then you'll have that, and then you'll have the bond. And the bond, I can't remember how much the payments are for these. So, what are these bonds? Oh, it doesn't tell you the, huh? I'm curious what the original amount was, yeah.
Guess the lifespan would be in the range of 10 years for those?
For what?
For a lifespan for a tennis
The
court?
tennis court has a 25-year guarantee,
Oh, okay.
so for
A
structural
lot longer,
integrity,
yeah,
the
so you could
bank
have a
might
bond
see
go that far, okay.
It might only be 20,
Yep,
if they count or something.
okay, yeah,
But the playground, I would think.
yeah, okay.
You have it. It's stuff.
Oh, what about the bathhouse improvements? Where would the money maintenance.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's fine.
So we've got this covered in our discussion, right?
Yeah, people think 40
45,
500
45,
over 2 years.
and we'll hear what the bond payment is, 3 different scenarios, half, each of the items total, in 10 years, or,
Yeah, well, let's see a couple options, a
Okay.
10 and a max, maybe a
Okay.
15 or a 20 if they allow it.
great, thank you. I have one other question that was raised, and that was, how do we, or is there a method by which the town will accept donations that are tax deductible? If we wanted to have solicit donations for a tennis court and have the tennis courts named after a particular donor, and that donor would gain tax benefits, 5013C, et cetera. Does that methodology exist with the town at the moment?
Senior Center and the library had to, I think, create the Friends of as separate separate nonprofits. I think to those ends. That's
They'd have Friends of the Tennis Court.
Exactly.
And then they would come the money to donate it, and the town would agree to accept it, kind of thing.
I mean, a donation to the town is tax deductible, just to the town. But maybe I don't know what the benefit is for a separate, for a 501c3.
but there's, yeah, 2 organizations have done them over the years.
Why, do you know why they did that and didn't donate to the town as such? What's the difference? Is there,
I think they have control of the money.
And they're continually fundraising.
Like-
I don't-
oh, I see, it's not, yeah, okay.
And then the money keeps coming in, they do fundraising every year, so this, at the senior center, I'm making this up, but they had like 200 or 300,000. And they chose among their membership to put an addition on, a couple $100,000. So they asked select board, we said, fine, didn't cost us any, so they paid for it. And each year they solicit for donations in this 5013C.
Okay.
And so that fund keeps getting built up, and then the next item comes along, they'll have money, and
Right.
it's kind of self-funded that way.
So we could do that,
Friends of the Shawop Beach.
right.
It could be bigger than
Broader
the
than-
tennis court.
Is there, right, is there,
Yeah, we don't have to do anything. It's the person who creates the 5013C defines it, what they want to do, and get that, whatever the tax.
But if you're donating it to the town to build the tennis courts or whatever,
it's still, that's a tax deduction for the donor?
Pretty sure.
Yes?
Yeah, I don't know.
Believe so.
Okay.
That's good.
it's not like we generate any kind of paperwork or do anything, it's just.
You just have to come up with a legal agreement that says, we'll name this, the town will name a court after you, or whatever the condition is that the person wants to
Okay.
donate money for. Maybe they don't, want anything except
But if that's,
great tennis court.
you gotta look at it as a one-time donation, or is that seed money for over years to keep it going, which is the case of the library and the senior center.
Kitchen and the bathhouse and all that.
Right,
Gazebo.
okay. Good. Could I make a request also that we do, at some point, determine whether we are allowed to raise money at the beach?
Beyond the parking.
Beyond the parking, yes. I would like that somehow that determination is made by the select board.
Why don't we do it case by case?
Well, we do raise money through the event fee form, and that hasn't raised any flags,
Correct.
but that's still smaller money than, like, what's the most a big event?
$100.
Right.
But every time you have an event, you come here, you get it signed off,
Yes.
so that could be a fundraiser through the process, so you
Okay.
charge everybody $10 to attend, and that becomes revenue to the town, so you're raising money
Right.
by holding the event and getting approval by the board.
Okay. Okay. So you understand, though, that there has been in the past this determination that commercial activity of any sort is not allowed.
So what, Bill, I think what you're saying is commercial activity that raises money for a private enterprise.
No, not, yes, but also in that we feel, recreation feels like our hands are tied, and it's just historical.
This was in reference, from my understanding, this memory is in reference to the town accepting federal dollars to
Correct.
create a public town beach, that there were conditions in that agreement. I haven't seen those conditions, but
Nor
I've
have I.
certainly heard about them over the years, and
Right.
I don't
And this is
know
why
how
we
we
feel
find
our
that
hands
out.
are a little tied when it comes to potentially raising money.
Yeah. Let's add some to the,
Well, why is that different from what we're doing? You know, you decide you're gonna have a Mozart festival, you're gonna charge everybody $20. It's over 3 weeks and you raise $3,000. I mean,
Because we haven't done that.
it's
We've
for
never-
the public. It's
it was a
not,
past, the Mozart was a past the hat.
well, I knew that, but
Yeah,
I'm just
right.
giving you a what if.
Oh,
Is that any different
It's,
than?
it's one of the reasons why we never have had an event whereby we charge anything at the beach.
well, in like Kingsland Bay, I got married there and it was half the price of getting married anywhere else, but
But it was.
Charlotte Beach was open as a wedding venue, I would have been married in my own
But then
bed.
we'd have to close the Charlotte Beach for you to do
No,
that.
Kingsland Bay does not.
I
It's
know,
not
but they're
like-
bigger, there's so much space.
Well, you got it wasn't a huge wedding, and you have the ball field
We have
parking.
the upper field area, which is
Oh.
sort
You
of
could
what
put
we
a-
what
a
we're
tent
thinking of
up there.
doing is using the upper ball field area, as we have done for small events in the past, like CVU has had graduation parties there, private parties,
Birthday party.
birthday
retirement
parties,
party.
for which we have not charged. They simply apply, and actually now we've got a small fee involved.
Okay, so you're asking us to check that out, okay.
And one of the, I think, noble motivations is the rec commission and Nicole have always tried to have a revenue neutral line item, and are looking to continue to do that if possible.
Well, yes, and we also recognize that the beach is one of the more attractive / potential growth areas for the town, both facilities and personal enjoyment. And we'd like to be able to approach that with unfettered mind and hands, so to speak.
Okay, so what action are we taking? We're trying to see if a commercial fundraising is permittable on our town beach? Or private?
Yeah. Or,
Well, no, it would be for the town.
yeah,
It would go towards the town budget. Yeah. It's not fundraising, it's,
Commercial, right. So somebody want to have a wedding and put a tent up on the ball field?
correct.
I know there's a Supreme Court decision against the town of Heinsberg when they started selling their gravel, that Heinsberg Sand and Gravel sued. And the Supreme Court determined that the town is not allowed to participate in an activity that a private enterprise is also profiting from. So they had to shut down the private sale of sand and gravel from the town of Heinsberg because they were competing with a company in their town. This, right, and this doesn't, I don't know of another private beach that's making money, but it would be something to have legal counsel look into.
Basin Harbor.
Yeah, luckily they're in Addison County. But yeah, I mean, I think that's where there might be something worth looking into.
Another example is we have our water tested at the beach for $1,600 every year. Do we just say we don't have potable water and sell water bottles, Now, can we do that? We can't sell water at the moment. Or we don't feel like we can sell water.
Or could we have food trucks, like once a blue moon down there?
Sounds like Dean should arrange a meeting between
And a
our
farmer's
council
market.
and you guys.
That's all kinds of options, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Got horse shows and stuff, they have a food cart there and
Yeah.
making money and,
right. And the town could make money out of that,
Right, 8%,
percentages
10%.
or whatever,
Sure.
I guess we should just make a little decision here to allow the recreation people to contact council and get opinion.
I'd be happy, that'd be great.
If Dean will facilitate that with our council, that would be wonderful,
If you can include me in on the scheduling, if I can make it, that'd be great. If not,
if you insist. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That'd be great.
anything else on recreation?
No, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Very
Thanks,
nice
guys.
succinct plan. So that means we'll be looking at this at our next meeting as far as the cost of a bond and take a vote and see what makes sense to us. I moved my papers around, I can't find out where I last was. I know, I knew that part, I just can't find the piece of paper where I put a big line across it.
Highway access plan?
Well, you want to finish? Yep, that's my line, thank you. Huh? You want to,
Back to select board?
yeah, we're on the town line, we stopped there.
Okay, so we're moving on to town lands
Town lands, yep.
and the review, the landfill at Booth Lane. Lincoln Applied Geology does that. Their estimate for FY19 is, I believe it's flat at $6,747. Mowing for current fiscal year, the winning bid was broken out, village mowing for 4809, Lakefield and Beach 6500, Berry Farm Ballpark 7840, and trail maintenance 2500. The Berry Farm Ballpark line includes fertilizing, and that cost has gone up. So the recommendation is to increase that slightly. In the past, it had been $10,000 for both mowing and fertilizing, so we're recommending $1,200 increase.
You're gonna increase it how much?
From 10,000 to 11,200.
What's the 33,330, what's that number mean?
Where are you? Oh, fertilizer.
And then, going from 10,000, where do I see the 10,000?
It's in the last year's budget. For the ballpark.
Yeah, I see it.
Brush hogging, the winning bid this year was $2,320, and then we had some add-ons to mow and to brush hog on Thompson's Point and the beach, and also to remove vegetation on the Burns property along the ditch, or in the ditch, within the ditch. And remove some trees. I did actually have Junior take a look at the Greenbush Road landfill, and he feels the trees that have fallen don't impact the landfill, so aren't really the town's burden to remove. So reduce that by 500, so 3,070. Park security, I talked with Mary Boyd, she's okay with keeping it at 6,000. School fields and gym, doing it a little bit differently this year. In the past, I talked with Dave LeBlanc, and he would give me a number, and they seemed like they were never actually doing all the work that he had indicated they'd be doing. So this year, I took a 3-year average of the actual. So that comes to 5,900. Thompson's Point trash, I got quotes from both Casella and Myers, and Casella, this is just for the Thompson's Point dog waste toters at $493.
How come, you know, at the corner of, North Shore Road and Thompson's Point Road, there's the dog bags and all that there, but the can's not there, and people just have a big pile of whatever it is, green dog bag
Well,
poops.
we've had them collect only during summer months.
Yeah,
um,
people park in that corner, and
And
a lot of people do.
And they're not taking their waste with them, I take it.
No,
So is the request to have it year-round, or?
I'll make a sign, tell him to take it with him.
Well, the beach switched over to that 3 years ago, maybe?
Carry in, carry out?
Carry in,
Is
carry
Bill still
out.
here?
That was wildly
Um,
successful.
Is that a recreation commission managed area? The dog walk?
No.
Thanks for asking.
Does the Thompson's
No,
Point Committee do
we
it?
have the Whiskey Bay dog
Yeah,
poop receptacle is part of, that's one of the.
it is, yep, it is.
Yeah, I think you're talking about the ones on the corner,
Right.
not the ones that.
it's North Shore Road, Thompson's Point Road, I mean, there's always 3 or 4 cars there every day. So we can either have it 12 months of the year, or we can put a sign up for,
Okay.
A lot less money. Put a sign up, take it with you.
I can say that Mount Philo, just for your information, they're open year-round now, and their
Right.
dog waste receptacles are used year-round and empty year-round. They have a winter, they have a church on snow,
Yep.
somebody does,
yeah.
they're empty year-round.
Considering the parking is a little bit dispersed and there's not a point of entry, I think a sign may not work unless it's, but I'd be open to suggestions.
I'm curious what
Maybe
the increased cost of going from whatever it is, 6 months to 12 months for one, what's the cost of that?
Yeah, I'd have to look.
I mean, I wouldn't do all 3,
Right, just that
but
one.
people do a circle.
Okay.
Either down Lanes Lane and back, or North Shore Road and back, and they all park in that same spot.
Okay.
I can't imagine it's more than $200.
Yeah, I would say for the couple $100, put the can there.
Yeah.
Okay. Basic plan management is in the Conservation Commission's budget, so nothing in this budget. Winter plowing, 0. Village wastewater system maintenance, there's some minor work that was suggested, recommended by Dave Marshall, that would cost about $200. Drummond did come and add risers and filters to the septic tanks for the town hall, the library, and the fire station, and that will be billed shortly. Town hall maintenance, just adding for the, replace the UV light for the water system. Town hall equipment, I think that's been covered.
When's SimQuest gonna talk to us?
January 8th,
So that's near completion of our budget then.
right. There were a couple of improvements that have been discussed that haven't been budgeted in the past, for venting the boiler room, and if we keep the server on site, to vent that room. That should be budgeted. Moving to transfers for the improvement and repair reserve fund, the current balance, $25,000. We've committed to purchasing the carpet for $16,000. We're planning to replace the chairs that in their ballpark of $3,000. And we just spent just about the $3,000, the $3,160 for, that I just mentioned for the septic tanks. So that brings the balance of the improvement and repair reserve fund to, right, 26, yeah, 2,000, 2,500. So we did get 2 estimates for replacing this roof, Ellis Inc., and then we had a more recent estimate that's on the table from KMC. KMC's quote is a bit lower. Fritz, you have it on the table?
It was last on the back.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, I got it. Here you go. So for asphalt, they gave 2 different quotes, 23,800 and 27,800, depending upon how,
You'd want to do the 27,000
27,000.
23 is cheap stuff.
And then for standing seam roof, standing seam would be 45,000. There may be additional insulation and whatnot, and additional roofing sheathing that may be needed.
That'd be same difference regardless of what type of
Right,
roofing you put on.
true, yep.
Yeah, well, the thought was whether you want to, if this is insulated, if you have the same situation we did with the library. This is a vaulted ceiling, so the only time you can get to the insulation to fix it is when you peel a roof. If you're going to put a metal roof on it, you do it when you do the roof. But we haven't looked into that yet. This is kind of just a placeholder recommendation, so we don't end up in 3 or 4 years from now having to drop the whole thing. If we start putting, I don't know, 5,000-10,000 a year in with the roofing, by the time it needs it, it'll probably be there to pay for it.
So Fritz, you're the one who's been up there, how soon do you think we're gonna need it?
I'd probably get another couple years out of it, I think. They're pretty brittle, but a lot of them aren't glued down like they're supposed to be, but.
So if we use the metal, the standing seam quote from KMC and add 5,000 to it and divide that over 2 years?
That sounds like a reasonable approach. That's,
Yeah, the life of standing seam is,
25?
it's the same as asphalt? Or
no, it's longer.
much
It's
longer?
longer, they say 25 for
Yeah.
the,
They advertise asphalt as, 30-year shingles, but
They last 20.
yeah, good luck collecting on that guarantee.
paint was guaranteed for 25 years. Oh, the standards.
Wow.
And then, Fritz, you were looking into generators. You found quotes for $20,000 for one for the senior center, one for the town hall.
I got 2 quotes for the town hall and the senior center. The least expensive one was $40,000 for both of them. And that,
For the generators.
the reason for the town hall is because that's where the septic system is powered from. And the senior center would be a emergency evacuation center as opposed to the school. I don't know if you'd ever need a place as big as a school. The senior center has, kitchen, other facilities, and is next door to the ambulance. As a starter, it seemed better than trying to power the school would be a whole lot more money.
Yeah, and make it up Churchill and inclement weather.
Would you think of doing one year and one the other, or would that price be for doing them both at the same time?
I'd do both of them just because,
Well, you needed the generator here to run the septic over there.
yeah, there's the possibility to try to separate the circuit from here and run a conduit all the way across the street, and dig up the road and the thing, and for
Same amount.
20 grand for about the same amount, you would have another building. I mean, if there is a emergency of more than a day or two, it'd be good if the the town operators, select board, whoever had some place where they could do stuff. And you could always use one of these rooms for, you know, cots or whatever, if that came up too. Because there's still a bathroom here, there's no, well, there's a small kitchen too, so. We look for grants and for emergency management stuff, and there don't seem to be any available.
Right. Okay.
I guess that'd be a capital thing, and there was stuff in the town plan about creating a capital fund. Maybe that's a better venue for this than a maintenance. The roof would be maintenance. Generators would probably be capital for accounting purposes.
You could just have to take it right out of that improvement and repair fund.
It's an improvement.
Yeah, well then, take it out of that fund's fine.
So we're pretty close to being able to plug all the numbers in and have the impact to the tax rate and whatnot. We're not, there might be a couple of numbers that aren't completely solid, but we have another agenda item, and that's kind of feeds into the discussion of whether you want another meeting before January 8th to look at that.
Yes, Mary?
Listening to the conversations, seeing where you are in the budget, what you need to do is you need to have a meeting, and it should be the budget, and it should go line to line to line to line, and do it. And don't be distracted by other agenda items that you have to make time for or whatever, but you seriously need to go line by line, because I can just tell, listening to the conversation, that a lot of this.
It's spiraling up.
And when you're looking at all these things that are coming in, and we need this capital fund for this, and we need this for this, and we have to do this, and what about the roof, and there's all these things, going line by line, you're gonna figure out that not everybody's gonna get everything that they have come to you with, that it sounded so great when they came there, and you really need to look and study the budget with all the numbers that we're gonna put in at the end of tonight. Study your little thing, and you need to go line by line, and then you will be done.
Agreed. So, January 8th is a regular meeting, right?
January 8th is regular.
So we're looking at a January 15th budget work session.
That is Martin Luther King Day, if you're interested.
Well, we can just make the agenda on the regular meeting, the budget, and do the next stuff in the next meeting. I think that probably better sooner than later with the budget.
Yeah.
I'd say start at 6 o'clock.
On the 8th.
On the 8th, just as Mary said, that's good plan.
Okay.
Because I guess you just said the same thing. It's gonna roll up, it's gonna be,
I think
we're gonna be in the 15%
we're
growth
loading up the
factor here.
credit card, we're gonna get sticker shock when the bill shows in.
So, does that work for any other commitments we have, Dean? Making the 8th totally budget, start at 6 o'clock?
Yeah, I think that works generally. I did do a draft agenda, and I didn't print it out, but I'll take a look, and I think that
Okay.
generally works.
So 6 to 11.
Yep.
That starts earlier.
So we just said January 8th at 6 PM. Okay. Okay. Seems, okay, we don't, that's going to be our review of the whole budget, so I don't think there's too much more to say right now on the budget.
Right.
Right. Because rolling all those numbers up.
Transfer to fire and rescue currently is 0?
Well, in Mary's version, yes.
Okay.
You guys never said anything, so.
Do we have a?
The-
You have a date, you have a date.
Is that what?
A, B, and C, but
Right.
you never said what number.
I'm just wondering which number we want on January 8th to look at.
For them,
Yeah.
I thought the one that folks wanted was the 9.4% increase in,
Well, this would be for their capital reserve.
the capital reserve.
Yeah,
120 was their baseline, right?
that was what they had last year.
Yes. Then they had the issue of the $200,000 worth of, what do you call the fire protection equipment?
The air pack?
So the 120, there's still a positive net cash, but I think we need to have an article in the March town meeting approving the expenditure. We don't, if we approve the 120, there's enough flow to pay for them, but anything over 50,000 ought to go before the voters, just like we did the ambulance. We were getting approval, but not asking for money. So I think we ought to do that for the fire thing on that. We answer your question on the
Yep, 120 is what.
120, okay. There seem to be no objections to the one that was the 9.4% increase, which will take me a minute to find it. Do you remember which one that was?
Let's see if we can.
Here it is. I've got 9.4. It was, for the operating budget,
At the top under revenue, that's the town, what's the town gonna give?
town appropriation. The number that the board did not object to was 669,324, which was a 9.4% above the prior year, increase of 54,000.
669,324?
669,324, yes.
Okay, so I'll put that in, and I'll put the 120 in, and I'll put, there's a couple for the transfer to the recreation capital fund is 4,500 for this year, correct?
Yep.
Next year.
Yep.
So whatever ones we talked about tonight, I put those in, and then I'll put this in your boxes.
Okay.
You'll be good to go.
Thank you.
You can,
Figure out where you're at, sweating.
okay. Good. I think we ought to go on, the next topic, 815 item, the health insurance benefit. We're in the process of offering an employee senior center director a job, and one of the things that we hadn't resolved last week was the health benefit. So I think we're in a position to discuss that tonight in a form of a change to the personnel policy that would allow this to happen without any special situation for an individual person. Changing the policy to allow this, then if we hired someone else who was in that category, the policy would cover it. Do you want to walk us through? Yeah, you have it on the board. So this is our personnel policy. There's a red line copy in our packet and a smooth copy, final copy. So I would look at 511 first. On the board, everybody have it?
What was the goal of these revisions?
Two.
allow for coverage of Medicaid?
Yeah.
Medicare Part B?
Yeah, A,
Supplemental.
B, I think it's A, B, C, and D, and it affects employees over 65 and in a manner that's no greater than what we employ employees under 65.
Right.
How do we come up with that number?
Which number?
Well, it's the same as what we offer the other.
Silver, high deductible, 90%. It's what we came up with when the healthcare system was the health insurance system was changing, and Blue Cross, well, it was basically every insurer offers the same policies and has different rates, and at that point, the select board actually initially had an HSA or health savings account and then changed to an HRA, health reimbursement arrangement, and it was decided the silver high deductible or silver CDHP is one of the lower cost plans in terms of the premium. It's not the lowest, which would be the bronze. It's one step up from the bronze. And that's the basis. Then the town's reimbursement has been for employees at 30 hours or more, which are considered full-time, 90%, and then step down 4 percentage points per hour down to 20 hours per week. At 20, less than 20, there's no benefit.
Now, this year, it was, do you have the number, Mary, for what was being contributed to each, to the people now towards their health insurance?
I had that when I had a chart that I gave you guys when I did the budget last time.
Yeah. I'm just looking for wording that would make those similar. And I don't, at this point, I don't see that similar wording to make it the same amount. It says, because it says same benefit. The town provides the same benefit for employees who are on Medicare.
Yeah.
But it does, but to me, the same benefit doesn't mean the same amount.
The wording would be in the last line of the Medicare, of the employees on Medicare section, which says all Medicare and supplemental policy payments will not exceed, well, that's actually for full-time, will not exceed 90% of the premium for Blue Cross Blue Shield Vermont Standard Silver CHP. I suppose there should be prorated also for if the employee is less than 30 hours.
Right, but let's just say that, I mean, they're gonna get the same benefit as somebody else. I mean, if the benefit for the reimbursement for the Medicare is a lot less than, happens to be a lot less than what the town provides.
Right.
What happens to that extra?
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
the
sim-
way it reads here, they're gonna get the money, and they're gonna be able to pay off their Medicare, and they're gonna have some extra money in their pocket.
No.
We know it's on a reimbursement basis, so it's similar to employees that are enrolled in the bronze CDHP. The premium for the bronze is less than the premium for the silver, so the town pays the premium for the bronze, and,
100%?
technically, 100%. So the employee pays nothing. You could say the employee's leaving something on the table, but they're not. They're getting their premium paid for. It's on a reimbursement. Well, actually, the premium is paid for up front. We're not,
This says just Part D is reimbursement basis.
All three, so if you look at this chart, Medicare Parts A and B are a deduction from Social Security based on your income. So that's a fixed value for an employee.
Okay.
Medigap is the supplemental coverage, and that means a Medicare approved provider. In this case, an employee would show us whom that is and show us their receipt. And if it's a Medicare approved, they're paying out of their pocket. And then the third one is the drug, and that's prescription, and that's paid out of the person's pocket. So we would reimburse A and B, the gap, and the D in a check to the employee based on the data they show us, which will probably be significantly less, or will be less, than what we pay employees under 65. But we can't directly pay Medicare, but we can see their, what their deduction is from a Social Security receipt.
And since it's on a reimbursement basis,
Right.
we're not paying anything up front, so we're not paying, Frank, to your point, we're not overpaying what the actual cost is.
And it looks like the step 2 on that sheet, the Medigap policy, the supplemental coverage, that is what's taking place of an employee with a silver plan's out-of-pocket expenses. And that's
Yeah.
on the HRA,
Yeah,
picks that part up.
yep. I mean,
Number 2,
right,
because that's for co-insurance, co-payments, and deductibles.
yep.
So we have apples to apples. Over 65, under 65.
Yeah, I mean, potentially we could offer, a supplemental plan through Blue Cross, but this, the particular employee has a plan, and it seems like seemingly we're not paying out more by offering to reimburse the premium of the different plan of a plan that's not Blue Cross.
Well, that's true, but if, no, let's get away from the Medicare part, but if somebody else had a different plan,
We're not going there right now. We're just talking about,
Oh, you mean like Cigna or MVP? That would be,
that's a different discussion.
yeah. I'd be happy to have it after budget season.
Yeah, let's make that after,
It's a big expense for the town. It would be worth looking at.
but for now, we're trying to be equitable for all potential employees. And this,
Would there be a cost comparison between a Blue Cross
So,
Blue Shield supplemental and the supplemental that they have?
we could do that, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know the exact cost.
Well, I mean, if someone's got a supplemental and they're paying $5,000 for it,
Right.
Blue Cross offers the same thing for $2,000. We
Just
don't
so, I mean, yeah, it's a good point. The
town maxes out at the 90%.
right, of the silver deductible. And the range that we're talking about is everything being in the range of 400 or less per month. So it's not like it's a,
Cadillac.
yeah.
Who came up with these edits?
The edits to the policy.
To the policy?
I drafted it.
Sounds like this falls in line with the recommendations from VLCT.
The only thing I didn't see was the term Medigap policy. Was that the Medicare supplemental policy premium?
Yeah, I've
Okay.
only seen that term used by Blue Cross.
Yeah, I didn't see it in the policy. Oh, okay, so you think that's their
Yeah,
proprietary?
yeah.
Okay, got it.
If you're a board, then I think we had a motion to approve the change in 5.11 and 5.12, then that offers equitable health insurance to any employee over 65.
I'll make them,
To prorate it based on, right, prorate it based on approved hours, similar to,
for an individual, 90% of an individual plan, right?
it's 90% of the individual plan for someone who's full-time. And then for someone who's less than full-time, it would be the same as 50% to 86%.
So you just need that long paragraph to reflect the sentence that's on there.
Right.
Is the same for two people on a policy as it is for one?
There was, in that Medigap
Can't.
handout, they said, I believe it's there, they said that you can't get insurance for a partner. Basically,
Well,
each,
that's
With
right.
Medicare,
right,
right, it's all individual,
right,
Social Security, or the Medicare's
yeah,
individual, that's right.
yeah.
So our policy is gonna be for just, for the Medicare, employees on Medicare is gonna be just individuals.
Would be a copy and paste of the prorating. Does that sound right?
yeah, and I mean, the 90% is for full-time, so full-time would be plugged in there, and then.
Okay, 90%
Yeah,
for full-time.
yeah,
Would not exceed 90% of the individual premium for the Blue Cross Blue Shield Vermont Standard Silver CDHP plan for full-time employees.
right,
Or for employees, I think it says 30 to 40 hours
yeah,
in above.
30 or more, yep,
30 or more.
Or
50 to 86%.
50 to
50
86.
and 86%, it says. It says 60 and 86.
I think it should be 50 to 86.
Yeah,
Is that a sliding scale, 20 to
Yes,
29?
it is.
yeah,
Okay, so
52.
20 to 29 hours.
strike "and" in the first paragraph and add 2.
Yep.
And for employees, 30 to 40 hours, or 50 to 86% for employees
For 20 to 29 hours.
for 20 to 29 hours.
Then it has for additional hours per week, employees approved hours, down pays an additional 4%. They got all that anyway, so I think all that should be right on the bottom too.
Yep.
I missed that?
Just the last part of that sentence,
4%.
the town pays an additional 4% of the
Okay.
premium and out.
Yeah, down below, okay.
Yeah,
Does that make
yeah,
sense?
if you're gonna continue the definition, you might as well continue the whole thing.
Yep.
Yep.
And insert individual here. Yep. Make a motion to amend the sections 5.1.1 and sections 5.1.2 of the personnel policy for health insurance benefits for the town of Charlotte with the edits dated 12/18/17 as approved by the select board.
One second.
You second that? Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. So you're good. So you've met with the employee candidate? And this is the one loose end, right? Okay. Good luck.
Are we going back to, we're gonna do Hinsdale
Sure.
at the end of the night?
We can do that now if you'd like. Nobody's waiting for us. So you want to do the Hinsdale? Anybody want to make a motion on that?
I didn't go to the site visit, but I'd make a motion.
Go ahead.
Do we have juniors?
Yes.
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
It's 15 inch by 30.
So I actually, guess because I've been driving back and forth in the dark. It's gonna go just west of the yard that's already there, the driveway of the yard, and there's like some grass. And then that's gonna access, all three are gonna close the one where the mobile home is now?
Yes.
You're gonna
that's
close
what
that.
he said.
South side. South side. Right across from Vicky. Sweatshirt.
I guess that would be a condition. I mean, the application says we are considering having it available.
For the two residential lots, it doesn't say they're gonna abandon the existing one.
Okay, that'll be separate.
That's,
Okay, yep, I see, yep.
I stand corrected, the culvert size is 18 inches by 30 feet.
So they're proposing to divide, so this is something that's, the planning commission is currently looking at?
They are. Final, yeah, sorry.
No.
There's a proposed subdivision on the south side of Heinsberg Road, to create 3 lots. One would be conserved open space, and then 2 building lots. And this access would serve all 3 lots, and potentially also the lot that serves the, or that has the mobile home on it.
Yes.
So the mobile home is on its own lot?
It is.
How does, if you give curb cut, how do you get access to lot number 2? I see lot number 3, but how do you get access to lot number 2?
Be a right-of-way through.
Lot number 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're gonna take the driveway away from the mobile home and add it into this one access?
No,
Only if you require it.
that's not what the application says.
The application's asking for a second curb cut a few hundred feet from the mobile home's driveway. Is my scale off?
In the description on page 1, it says they would consider it.
So it would be, we are considering having it available to serve an existing lot to the east. That would be the mobile home lot,
Right.
but that's not really,
And throw up the other one? That's the idea?
It sounds like it's an option, although it's not necessarily,
it's not their most desirable.
We don't know which lot to the east it is.
Or if the, how does it work cart and horse? Does the
This one.
planning
doesn't
commission
say
wait
that.
to
It
have
could be
curb
this one.
cuts to make lots? Or does the
They
select board?
really did.
usually it's between sketch and final. So
That's
this
to
is
the east
a
of-
minor subdivision, so it's
South is
only
this way, east is
sketch plan
towards
review and a
historic.
final hearing. So they did the sketch plan review, and the final hearing is, I believe, scheduled in January.
Right.
And without a curb cut, can't go to final?
Yeah, right, I mean, yeah, that's one of the,
Right. So basically, it just says, on our map here, it just says a proposed curb cut for lots 2 and 3 only.
And
Is
it
their
says
Is their desire.
there's an additional lot to the east, but we don't know which lot that refers to. Is it the mobile
It's
home
this
lot,
one. It is, I'm
or is
sure.
it that big one that says NFP? Well, he might have a deal going on with a neighbor, who knows,
Oh, Rutgers.
to give him access.
Oh. From the road?
From his driveway.
Oh. No, but that's.
I don't know.
Well, here, yeah, here it says.
Did anyone go to the site visit?
I did.
Was Clark
It
there?
was
Thank you.
lonely.
Was Clark there?
Oh, wait. I was so busy, I didn't have a chance to call you and tell you
Yeah,
I
I
wasn't
just,
gonna
I
be
just
there.
know that on,
3
on
o'clock
the most
stuff.
part, the planning commission and the select board, on the most part, try to limit the curb cuts to as few as possible. That being said, the other one already exists, and this is gonna go to 2 additional lots.
Is there a scheduled final on the planning commission schedule?
I could look on the board side. I know that there was talk of it being either in January or February.
Is it possible to have this on another agenda item and
Further clarify.
and invite Clark to kind of explain his thoughts? I mean, he's a seasoned at doing this, so, you know, I don't,
If we're gonna sign it, it should be clear.
yeah, I guess that's my.
So why don't we defer it until,
January 8th.
you can't interfere with our budget discussions.
That'll be after the budget discussion, unless it was the
But
first
you
5
want
minutes.
to stay up that late.
11?
Optimistic.
Well, we should talk about, well, we might need to have another meeting.
Is this on an existing agricultural entry?
I don't think it is. I think the agricultural entry is farther west.
Okay.
So we're deferring to a later date.
Okay.
Carrie, do you want to withdraw your motion?
Sure.
Okay.
I see how we,
Okay.
right now, but
The next one we have Chittenden County Regional Planning, is that right?
Yeah. So, just a quick summary, Chittenden County Regional Planning does studies, transportation and non-transportation, but often transportation is one of the most frequent, including speed studies or traffic studies. They did do the analysis of the town's roads in preparation for the state general permit. It did occur to me, in the last meeting, you discussed having, or the potential for looking into parking lots in the villages, and I wondered if that might be something you would want to ask for. It might not be approved, but to ask for them to provide what they call a scoping study, which is basically identifying possible locations and doing a preliminary analysis of, size and any other issues, wetlands and that kind of thing.
If it was compatible with the work the library is doing, does that add a higher priority I mean, if that's, because they've got a plan, parking certainly is an issue, is that, if we,
It might.
if we,
I think it's more global than that. I mean, we have, the senior center needs parking, the library's getting bigger, is gonna want parking, we're talking about village designation, all these things point towards parking.
Wastewater ordinance, children's center wants to tie in.
So as if, I think it's part of that was one of my comments on the town plan, that instead of just doing parking with the senior center, we should be looking at a town parking. Because we're gonna have a town, so to speak. So I think it would be appropriate to ask them.
You own land. Use it.
what?
This is the flea market. We own that land. Why not use it?
That's gonna be our casino.
Let's get some revenue in.
Yeah, let's go for it. Gotta pay for this budget somehow.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's all it would take.
Yeah, I would think we should ask them for proposals, or, for parking study.
Yeah, okay. And, we have another meeting or so before this is due. You can think about it. I guess just to get to East Charlotte, not that I'm against it, but there's not the civic areas like the town hall, the senior center, the library that need parking. So I guess what would be the purpose of creating parking?
Well, if it was gonna become a designated village designation, then
That's
it
more
would grow
Commercial use?
eventually.
Yeah.
There would be more commercial use. Right?
Potentially.
Actually.
That might be
Park and
more,
ride, we're awful close to the hospital and Burlington, straight up Spear Street, so,
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Any other ideas
They're in town looking at it.
for projects? Any speed issues we're worried about?
Sure, everybody will say everywhere in town.
just in front of my house.
In front of my house.
So I guess we have one idea then for now?
What other options are there, Dean? The cost of a bicycle trail from East Charlotte to West Charlotte, back and forth, on Heinsberg Charlotte Road.
Well, Spear Street, bicycle safety. Scoping study? I think that came
Oh,
up as
Heinsberg Road.
an advisory motion
Yeah,
at town meeting
right.
last year.
Oh,
I think we did ask for that of regional planning.
This year?
This year, and they didn't agree to do it. But we can ask
Squeaky-
again,
Squeaky wheel?
yeah. I know in the past, well, actually, they did study Ferry Road to the west of the train tracks as far as configuration, and so anyway, they did look into that. The cost probably is not, I mean, there was they talked about moving the culvert, and or creating a center line with or rather an edge line with like a bump, the rumble strip. But it seemed like that would be a problem for bicyclers that wouldn't be able to negotiate that.
I think Spear Street's gonna have the same problem at places where it's cut into the hillside. To put a bike lane in the side of that, you're talking some dynamite. Not easy to add a bike lane. Expensive, I don't, I mean, we could ask for a study, but I just don't see the dollars working out for that one, because that's like Ferry Road, you just gotta move the ditch over and add 5-6 feet of road, that's all. It just costs a lot of money. Can we have 2 casinos? Bicycle access casino. So both of those are possibilities, but they're just really expensive. So, and I frankly don't see those in the future.
do you have any suggestions, Dean?
Sorry?
I said, do you have any other suggestions that we don't know about, that you think we should?
I don't right now. I can try them all.
Move on to the next. Okay, this next topic is the town plan. So let's talk about this for a minute. There was a lot of inputs received from a lot of folks over the last few days. And Dean has collected those, handed them around, and Daryl is incorporating them. I think you said that Daryl could probably have this done by the 8th of January. Is that what you said, around that 5th, 8th? Okay. If we're going to warn a meeting for the 22nd of January, it has to go to the citizen on the 3rd of January.
Because they publish on Wednesday.
Because they publish on Wednesdays, and you have to have the lead time. So the question is, if we make a decision tonight to warn it on the 3rd, we will get to see the document on the 8th with a lot of changes. And we could either have a special meeting on Martin Luther King Day, the 15th or the 16th, discuss those changes, and then decide, or have a warrant meeting on the 22nd, are there enough changes that don't allow us to proceed to town meeting, and we want to wait? Or if it's good enough that we approve it on the 22nd?
Well,
Am I said all that right? Go ahead.
Here's just my 2 cents.
Okay.
With multiple sources of edits coming in,
Right.
then being translated into the document by Daryl or any second party.
Yep.
And then for the likelihood that the 5 of us are going to think that that was done perfectly and just pick it up on the 22nd is very low.
Right.
So I think having a work session, even if it's the day after, Tuesday, the 16th.
I read some of the edits, well, and I know there's actually a couple that are diametrically opposed, so that Daryl's not gonna be able to write black and white in the same sentence.
You can put A
One
or,
or the other.
A or B option to look at.
And we didn't charge Daryl with
No.
authoring those changes, or deciding which changes he should accept if they're in conflict. I think we need to do that if we're going to send something to the planning commission. So setting, and then at that meeting, based on, if it's just a work session meeting, based on how it goes, we could postpone the warrant hearing on the 22nd or decide to go ahead with it.
We would still have to have the 22nd because that's when you sign the articles, not necessarily town plan.
Right.
You need to have a 22nd meeting anyway, but you're right. We could postpone it.
The
If there's
second
too many
hearing.
changes and we're just not going to be ready. We're making the effort
Yeah.
to bring in these changes, but there are some opposing views. I think you're right.
What's the time frame
Time frame for what?
for a new town plan?
It would have to be done the 22nd, so we
No, I
can,
mean,
Oh.
from the last one to the next one.
what was that again?
I think there's 2 more years. This is year 8, and it's on 5-year cycles.
We reapproved our town plan.
3
Previous one.
years ago?
There was a total readoption in 2013. There was a small edit made last year that was regarding, I think it was just regarding energy siting. It was very specific, so I don't think it can, in terms
It
of,
says in the
it
document.
doesn't push out the
In-
So
approval.
13 was the.
13 was the last,
last.
right.
Yeah, Daryl said something
There's
about
8
16 the
years.
other day, and I got to thinking about it after I left.
Is it 5 or 8 years?
It's 5 currently, but after the next one, it'll be 8.
I read the state statute that said 8, so I'm
It
trying
did
to-
change once this next one is approved.
So the 8 came into effect after the 13,
Yeah.
2013.
It came in last year.
Okay.
But we were grandfathered in.
Yeah,
So to speak.
so to speak.
So we're not up against the deadline there. Is that what you concluded?
Well, we actually are, 2013, 2000.
When does
yeah,
it have to be approved by?
18.
Yeah,
18,
which
Next year.
yeah.
Before this time next year.
No, let's see, it was actually, so it was adopted March 2013, so March 2018 is this March, is, 5 years.
What's the penalty for not?
The town, for situations like Act 250 where a town plan or solar siting, the town plan couldn't be used. It becomes basically, zoning's still in effect, but the town plan doesn't get used for,
So there's some exposure, but no penalty.
no penalty.
What do you mean exposure?
If the town
Voted in
plan
2000.
can't be used to support the town's position on, let's say, a solar array in a place the town doesn't want, the town can't go to the town plan and use that as evidence if it is more than 5 years old and hasn't been readopted. So in that interim, let's say March to November of 18, the town plan would not be able to be used to support the town's position on anything that's in the town plan,
Right, but the town.
even though the land use regs would still be upheld. That's what I'm catching what you're saying. So that's the exposure.
Well, for sneaky developers, that could be quite a window.
Well,
6 months
this
is plenty.
This happened back
They
in
can
2012
Turn on a dime.
or 13,
Loophole.
that there was that same loophole. I watched the select board back then go, oh my God, we
So-
need to readopt, or
So
it's gonna be written.
another point of view is, as someone said in the audience, we've made a lot of progress. And so it may not be perfect. If we can resolve these diametrically opposed opinions on the meeting the 15th or 16th, and what is written, we can agree to, maybe not be perfect, but we could then submit it in the articles for the town meeting.
Yeah, and we can also shoot for the April budget vote, and that's a month of exposure rather than 7 months.
Just do it as fast as we can.
Tell
Right.
you what our concern there is. You put the articles in this book, which goes to print the 30th of January for the March and the April meeting. So, as we thought about it, the April meeting may not buy us anything if the April meeting is warned in this book.
Yeah, I mean semantically, but
We don't have a date for the warning in that book, do we? Or will we?
will we? I don't know.
See what we did last time?
We have a time
For
period,
the vote in April?
yeah. There's no date in the town plan, so it can't be a valid warning on it.
And it would just,
And
you know,
can you modify the warning?
yeah,
or
it would just be a separate mailing.
State something about in April, because you guys take whatever feedback or votes are taken at town meeting, and you adjust the budget accordingly. And then and you guys do that at a meeting, and then once you guys have done that, then we have a number to.
Au contraire, on page 16, we warned April 11th, Article 1 and Article 2, as you just said. It was completely warned except for the amounts of money that to fill in the blanks.
And then
So
a
it
separate
was-
warning was done
There was a second warning.
with
yeah.
the actual
Yeah.
numbers filled in.
With
So the
the-
question is then, could we add an Article 3 after town meeting? I would think you probably could.
Sure.
You guys just had figured out when your next meeting was, when you were gonna be able to set the budget, and had enough days of warning and having ballots available. That's how you came up with the date.
And that
April
it was
11th,
consistent
right.
with
Let's
the
just leave that out of the
charter
town
language.
plan this year.
Well, it
Check
wasn't
with the
consistent with the
schools, make sure
charter.
the school's got the free room, and, you guys coordinated all that before.
After the March town meeting, right? So we actually have to come up with a new warning. They have the money, as you just said. We can add an Article 3 town plan if we so desire.
Somehow we did know in this warning that the vote was going to be April 11th. Yeah.
Well, that's what,
Well, that
You do all
was,
that coordinating now, to try to figure out when your next select board meeting is after town meeting, to go over your budget numbers. Then we figure out the allotted time that's needed for warning and having ballots available.
it'll be the same, except it'll be the new Tuesday
And
of,
then you make sure that the school doesn't have anything going on. And then you,
The answer is April 10th.
and you make sure the school doesn't have anything going on April 10th.
Right.
As long as it's 30 days, we have an approval of what's going to be on that
Right.
vote 30 days before the date.
Right.
Because
March.
last year, we made the decision of what was going to be on the ballot, finalized what was going to be on the ballots on March 9th. And we found out that we had to be over 30 days.
Yeah, not
Warning.
less than 30 days is the town charter.
The town
After
charter
town
was
meeting.
20.
But we're okay there.
The state statute says 30.
But we're still okay though, aren't we? We're gonna have town meeting on the 6th. So then April 10th, it gives you the rest of that week to complete the article.
We have to have a meeting after town meeting to set the budget.
To set,
Right.
to set the budget and to set
As long
the-
as that's before the 10th.
Which I think we did do last
Yeah,
year,
it was
the day
midweek,
after.
yeah.
So I think you guys are saying it wouldn't be too, if we don't agree on the 16th and cancel the hearing, we still have time
For April.
in April. We would have we could
It'd
have
give
a
us 30 more
hearing
days.
on the 22nd, but we could accept changes, significant changes.
And then have one final hearing
Right.
shortly after to then send it to planning.
But it wouldn't be clear what to put, I mean, or maybe it would be clear, as far as what to put in this warning on the town plan, or it'd be just budget,
Town plan rewrite.
whether to include, yeah, right.
Articles or town plan rewrite.
We could be gutsy and just say,
But-
town plan.
Right,
potential.
but that wouldn't have to be in here because it's not a budget item. It's the town plan, so that can be added as a vote anyways,
Okay.
I believe, right?
All right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think legally, yes. I think it's more just a question of telling people what's, being clear as far as what,
I mean, warning it properly.
Right.
That it's gonna be a ballot
Right.
vote, but it's not something that's gonna be voted on March as a budget
Oh,
item
right, right.
to go
Absolutely.
onto the April
right,
Ballot,
true.
yeah.
ballot.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
My question, I thought you were leading to, Frank, can we put approve the proper words, Article 3, approve town plan, now, even though we're not ready?
Right, we
But
don't have to put that in there because we did it here because those are budget items
Okay,
that were
okay.
approved at town meeting to be voted on in April.
Okay.
Where the town plan is not a budget item that doesn't have to
I
be
understand
voted.
that point. We could still give people a heads up is the only thing I'm saying. You don't have to.
I agree.
Okay.
I think everybody should read the town plan and,
When does that go to print again? End of January?
29th of
29th?
January.
I mean, if there's a possibility we can come up with an idea that it's going to be ready for
That's what I mean.
the April 10th meeting, if that's what we're gonna call it, then, or vote, then I'm all for it,
which you might by the 22nd,
possibly.
January. Yeah.
So,
Well, we'll probably know by the
Well,
16th.
yeah.
So can everyone meet on the 16th?
that's the
Tuesday?
question, that's the next question, right? Want to meet on Monday or Tuesday? Monday's Martin Luther King Day. Tuesday is Tuesday.
Is the town hall open on Martin Luther King Day?
It's technically a holiday in the personnel policies, but you all have keys.
Oh, yeah.
I'm fine,
Staff has the day off.
I'm fine with the Tuesday.
Everybody okay with Tuesday? 16th?
Yeah.
Okay. So-
What time?
Huh?
What time do people want to meet?
6 o'clock, just in case there's a lot.
Sure, 6 o'clock. Now, we've just devoted the 8th for budget only. We might have a few other items we have to clean up.
Right.
I mean, I don't think we're gonna wanna spend more than, can't imagine we wanna spend more than 2 hours on a town plan. So we would have other items on the 16th. Everybody's good with that, that's great. Tuesday,
I have a CVFRS board meeting,
what time?
7 to 9. But we'll see what their agenda is, like, probably
So we've just said right now the 16th.
There's more then than there is here.
Well, you have to be here for the town plan. You had a major input. Okay,
6 o'clock,
Yeah.
January 16th.
While we're talking kind of on topic, we're gonna also need to approve the notice for town meeting. So far, budget, maybe an article asking about the air packs, $200,000 expense. Town plan maybe or maybe not. Is there anything else out there that anyone,
let me ask you this question. When Fire and Rescue was here, they said they would like to do a survey, and and I think paramedic service may be one of the questions. Would that just be a handout, have we done in the past, or is that more formalized? Yellow slip of paper in your seats, fill it out and put it in a box? Or do we want it more formal? Or do we ask Fire and Rescue, huh?
Who would be passing it out?
Well, it's a Fire and Rescue survey. See, it's their survey.
I'll ask. I'll call Tom.
I mean, as far as you're having it on the warning, is that what you're?
Yeah.
is
Well,
that-
whether it's official, whether it's just a show of hands,
Yeah.
whether it's a vote, I
I
don't
mean,
know what
in
they.
general, the town attorney has recommended not doing articles that are advisory.
Not doing articles that are advisory. Okay.
But there could be, we could kind of orchestrate and plan for an advisory motion on the floor to come up at town meeting and take a roll call, a voice vote, just to hear 2/3 of the room say yes, or.
Well, and I think this went to the MOA discussion, because the MOA is what outlines the level of service. So this was gonna be a discussion, the town hall, to see if they want the select board as the signee, the MOA, to change the level of service. So that at this point is a contractual obligation. So I think the point is the survey to see if we want to keep that up. So I don't know if that's a binding anything at the town meeting. It's just a chance to get everybody's opinion,
Right.
feedback.
Through a handout, you mean, or discussion of other business? You'll lose everybody by the time you get to other business.
Well, I guess it'd have to be other business, wouldn't it?
Or
I mean, it can't be binding because it's not something, it's like other stuff that, I mean, it's like sewer. We don't have something that says we make these decisions.
We could do it during that kind of select board presentation, and just instead of it being a one-way presentation, pause and
Let me,
ask for a little
I'll
feedback.
call Tom tomorrow and see what he's got in mind.
good. Another issue regarding meetings. The zoning administrator. So this Thursday, planning is going to meet. So we kicked it back to them to get it further endorsement. My take is, of the representatives that were here, they have the full support of the planning commission who makes a nomination. Do we think we should have a meeting with them and discuss our points of view between planning and select board, rather than, if nothing changed, they're going to make a recommendation for someone, and there's a chance that the select board may not agree with that. Do we want to sit down and air our points of view with them.
When's the next meeting that they would present the nomination for the
Well,
select board to vote on?
Well, I was gonna propose, as it's been said, we've got Lee in there, twice the price, does a good job. He wants to move on, go back to his regular job. I was gonna propose the 28th of December. Have a 1-hour meeting, whatever the time works, probably go into executive session, and discuss, if we're discussing candidates, which I think that's where we're at, and see if we have some kind of consensus, because it would be nice if what the planning commission recommends can be supported by the board. And we're in this situation now, that may not be the case. So I was gonna propose to you guys, and then plus it gives the planning commission this Thursday to meet, and then we would meet a week later. Is that something that we wanna do, or, because we're gonna have a tough time getting to it in January, and, just take an hour of your time on a date. I mean, the date can be changed, I'm just suggesting the 28th.
And we'll say the same things we did in executive session during the interview.
So what happens then? So if we say no,
Goes back, just like Peter said the other night,
what,
put it out, they put it back out, a job,
Right.
posting, and they get
Well,
other
they-
applicants.
Well, they can make a choice. They can either make another nomination from the people that.
They can nominate.
Well, I think the issue is the
up
select
to them.
board didn't officially give an opinion at the last meeting, so,
Because it was stuff that was discussed during executive session.
Right, but if they nominated, you have to thumbs up or thumbs down, and then that triggers them to do whatever the next step is.
Yep.
but Peter was very, very respectful of the concept of executive session. So he felt it was his duty not to discuss what was in our executive session to the planning commission. So they don't really know, from my understanding, they really don't know what our opinion is. He just didn't want to get into it. So the thought is there, if there's a first place person that we can agree on, or is there a second place person, or do we have to re-advertise? I mean, we ought to discuss that. Otherwise it becomes embarrassing, I think, if one committee recommends somebody and we say no, and then the next person, I think we ought to sort of iron it out in principle.
Yeah, it's possible.
I don't disagree, but I think it's something that should be on our agenda if we're gonna iron it out. I mean, right now, the only thing on our agenda is whether we're gonna extend Lee's contract or not.
For when?
Well, I'm not talking about,
Currently?
Yeah,
I think what was,
I'm just proposing a
the
meeting.
information was known when we left executive session, and kind of,
I wasn't there.
and
We're not making a decision tonight, we're scheduling a meeting, is that,
Right.
what's your question?
oh, okay,
I wasn't
I
saying,
mean,
it's not on the agenda,
I
Right,
don't
but
know if
you're-
I got anything
right.
that week that I.
sort of an update is what it is.
yeah.
So what's our board's feeling? You wanna do that?
Next week, but not on Thursday, not on the 28th.
Okay.
I'm not available. I'm only available on.
I'm probably not unavailable for most of that week.
Yeah, me too.
Twenty-fifth?
So you don't like any of those days, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, 26th, 27th, or 8th? I think we can do it in an hour.
I'm not around.
You're not here. You gotta be here for this. Okay. So that takes us into the following week. Of Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, January 2nd, 3rd, or 4th.
All 3 afternoons work for me.
Is there a preference?
Tuesday.
Tuesday, January 2nd. 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, what do you guys like?
7 would be better if it's short.
I think it
It
was
just
January 2nd, 7 PM.
gets me past bedtime.
Everybody like that?
I don't know.
You don't know because,
Fire and rescue.
His calendar
No,
starts
I
at the
just-
31st.
You know, we got people visiting and stuff. I don't know if I haven't talked to.
then you gotta go fight a fire at 7 o'clock on the 2nd.
You might be fighting a fire.
You
I'm
are.
not, I'm not,
Earlier, want it earlier in
I'm
the day?
just, I have a hard time what we're gonna do. We're gonna go over and say the same thing we did in executive session.
But we've challenged the representatives of the planning commission that they really weren't, they didn't really have the delegation from the full board. We challenged, that's what we really said to them, I think.
I did my best to telegraph it, let's put it that way. And I don't think it got through.
You have to give them either an up or down vote for them to go on the next step.
Mhm.
And
They have to give us an up or down nomination.
they did.
Well, they're prepared to give us a recommendation. We didn't take it.
Right.
We thought there ought to be further discussion, so that we threw it back in their lap. Fritz or someone said, do you really have the full support of the planning commission? They said yes, but and then it just went back to them.
I was wondering how they had the full support when, on a normal basis, if you don't know what you're voting on, you usually recuse yourself if you have not a clue of what's going on in the whole process.
Or you abstain.
You abstain or you recuse yourself from it. So, for me to look at the two members that were here who discussed nothing that happened in executive session discussed what I don't know with their fellow members, and they agreed to have them be the representatives. I mean, granted, yeah, how does it qualify as full support when,
Was there?
How does the,
Senior
well, I was gonna say, how does the presidential system work? Votes are not cast by you, they're cast by an elector.
Was there a vote?
So that, I mean, that's how this worked.
Was there a vote of the planning commission
Yes,
Yes.
in an open meeting
right,
to
To delegate
authorize
Peter, right.
Peter to nominate,
Peter and Marty, yeah.
and they didn't nominate?
They did.
They did.
well, they didn't,
When?
they did not openly nominate in the meeting.
Right.
We kind of pushed them away.
There was no agenda item, right?
This was a week ago.
Right.
It was on the
Yeah,
agenda
I think it was.
To hire,
to receive a nomination, and a couple of people of us said, do you really have the full support of your board? And we kind of challenged them, what Frank just said, and
Yes, next step was the agenda item.
And that was when Matt, that was when you and
I mean,
I
frankly,
basically said
nothing's-
start over again.
that seems statutorily like what we needed to do is to receive a nomination from them in
Right,
an open meeting.
right.
well, we should have
Which
done
is
that.
what I tried to do that. I said, why don't we,
Just,
something,
so
vote on it last time?
when's our next select board meeting?
We're trying to schedule it.
The 8th? Oh, you're trying to schedule it sooner than the 8th?
I was trying to
Do an off day so that it wouldn't interfere with.
do an off date so we could have a discussion, so we're all on board, of what our opinions are. Make sure what was said in executive session can be heard by everybody. You weren't there either, Matt, so everybody could hear it.
Well, what time do they meet on the 21st?
That's this Thursday.
7 o'clock.
That's what
7
time
o'clock.
they meet to officially pick their nominee.
Well, they already have.
I mean,
They're just-
officially.
Huh?
Officially.
Okay, okay.
So then if we have the select board meeting Thursday, a half hour later, they can stay and nominate, and we can vote it up or down.
I mean, they also have a work session on the town plan on that day, and they also have one public hearing, I think, for an application subdivision. So I don't know exactly the order of things, of, how much time.
On their
On
agenda.
their agenda, yeah. But if that's what,
It would seem like the most expeditious thing to
I
do.
think it's gonna take us 5 minutes, it's either up or down.
Right, but then it gives them more time
Okay.
to come up with,
Can we warn 5 minutes within their meeting on the 21st? I mean,
it's kind of like,
the problem is, go
Refueling
ahead,
the
go ahead,
jet.
Christina, you have some light for us?
Well, so I was just gonna say, so basically, the planning commission didn't actually know who the candidates were for the zoning administration. They just authorized the two representatives to take part.
Absolutely.
So, now that it's going back to the planning commission, are they going to come to you with possibly a second option? Like, I mean, are they going to discuss amongst the planning commission the options that are there and say, this is the one that we want to present, do we have a backup in case that one gets voted down? Because like I said before, the actual picking of the candidate didn't occur by the planning commission. Delegating to authorities of the planning commission to pick the candidate is what occurred.
And it's,
So is there discussion that the planning commission is going to look at the candidates and possibly have a backup option?
it's kind of a backwards approval too, you know, we did it this way, are you guys okay with that?
Right, that's
Well,
what I mean.
do I have a
The planning
choice?
commission
No, I
didn't
want to
actually
be
pick
present in the
candidate.
interviews. Well, it's too late, we already had them.
We had a hiring committee, basically. We formed a hiring committee with the select board, 2 people from the planning
Well, and most
commission.
hiring
and-
committees, you guys have like 1, 2, and 3, you have your top pick, your next pick, and so
So
on.
the problem is, the statute says the planning commission will nominate, we approve.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though, have you guys discussed with the planning commission of maybe coming to you with a first option, with a second option,
Thus-
so you don't have to drag
thus
this
the-
process out?
Thus, having a meeting with them to go through that. And do
Right.
they need to, do we need to re-advertise is really what, to me, what we're leading up to. I don't think there's a second place, I think it's a re-advertise.
Well, it could be, because it doesn't say it says nominate, it doesn't say nominate one.
Right, so if they
If
say,
they-
we want this person, and you guys vote no, then they
Yep.
can say, okay, how about this person?
They could, I don't think they're going to do that.
Why not, though?
From
Because
the
we're already-
feedback to the 2 delegated planning commission members that attended all the meetings,
of all the interviewees.
of all the interviewees.
They only have one, they don't have a backup option. They just
No,
have one,
that's
and
correct. That, I believe that is correct.
Okay, so them meeting with the rest of the planning commission, what is the purpose of that? To just
No idea, I
reaffirm?
have no idea.
Or to
We pushed it back to them.
I see no reason to go and visit with the planning commission. I have to agree with that and basically wait for them to come up with their nomination in a meeting
And,
and go from there.
and for me, it would be to have a meeting as soon as
Okay.
they nominate. So
Okay.
if that's Thursday and we have a 5-minute meeting Thursday, we can vote it up or down and they can go back to what they need to do to nominate. Or we'll have hired a new zoning administrator on Thursday.
Are you, since you don't know, are you going to ask questions? You're the only one who doesn't know this candidate.
Can I answer a question with a question? No, I don't know. Because I wasn't there for the interview process, my instinct is to trust the 4/5 of the board that was there. Everything happened in executive session, so it's, nothing happened, but
You're delegating the other board members.
I may abstain.
Well, it may not be delegating, but the other 4 is a majority of the board.
Yeah.
It's not like where we're talking with the planning commission where it's 2 out of required 4.
Yeah, and I like to be well informed. In this case, I will be less well informed than the 4 of you about the nominee, whoever it may be. And in the future, if it is voted down by this board, we'll all be as in the dark with a new nominee, with a new process, and we may all want to have an interview before we vote yes or no on the next nominee. This is all a new process because this is not the way in which we hired the last zoning administrator.
Bad statutorial process.
It seems messy, really messy.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to other select board members about this,
I
but
think it's practical, rather, have 5 minutes at the meeting on,
We can,
otherwise we're just gonna lose another 2 weeks.
yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think anything's gonna change. What's
Warn
gonna
our own
change?
meeting and meet in the room in the back. They can meet in this room. Public can run back there.
You just shadow them wherever they go. Follow them around town hall. We're allowed to be at the planning commission meeting.
Yeah.
So-
But if we're gonna make a vote, though, we should warn it.
Right, as well.
So can everybody attend it this Thursday at 7 o'clock?
I don't know when they're, I don't. let me
It
look at
depends on their
agenda.
schedule, or when are they gonna look at it?
Oh, I can't believe it. Oh,
I mean, we should have taken a vote this past
yes,
Monday, but
I
nobody
said
wanted
it.
to.
Wow, I said it, but nobody wanted to listen to Gary. I said, let's vote right now.
That's the two of you, we just needed one more.
I'd have to go back and look at VCAM.
7:30.
Huh?
Probably 7:30. They had a hearing at 7 o'clock.
Can you make it at 7:30?
And what
Probably
is the
8
hearing at 7?
Possibly 8 o'clock. I mean, if you want to let them discuss first and then 8 o'clock, you could.
I couldn't do it any before 8 o'clock.
All right.
Well, really, anytime Thursday night is gonna be
Yeah.
super fast
Yeah,
turnaround
I
on
think so.
voting this. 8 to 8:05 select board meeting?
Yeah.
Wow, it's more gonna have to be like,
I mean, the only thing I would say is unless select board members want to hear their rationale for selecting that applicant, but if you feel like you don't need that,
Oh, you should probably make it 15 minutes, I think,
Right.
don't you?
Yeah.
Does anybody ask? I mean, there's questions of conflict. Can that be discussed?
I'm still up in the air whether I could even make that meeting.
Hmm?
I'm still up in the air whether I can even make that meeting.
On Thursday?
Yeah.
Huh?
there's an awful lot of meetings around the holidays. Seems sloppy, messy, like you said.
We can put it off to the 8th then. 6 o'clock the 8th. Right.
Oh, yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, I'm fine with having the planning commission make their nomination and present it.
On the 8th.
Yep.
Is that our next meeting? I get my calendar.
You had something
Regularly
you were gonna do on the 2nd. What was that?
second is for, what is the second?
When do we select the budget? When are we gonna focus only on the budget?
The 8th.
Yeah.
That was
The 8th, okay, so that's budget.
But the second was for town plan. Is that right?
No, nothing.
I had 7 o'clock on the second.
Yeah.
I gotta write these down, I don't have any. January, 7 PM, I didn't put the,
Yes, the 2nd was the date you guys agreed on for a meeting.
for
For
what
what?
topic?
Tuesday,
For what topic?
I think it was town plan.
yeah, I think so too.
Is what?
No, that was the
That
16th.
was the 8th.
The 8th is the budget,
8th 's the
only the
budget.
budget.
The 16th is the town plan.
Okay, you're right.
There was something on the.
Day after Martin Luther King Day.
Second.
I think the
So
second.
the 8th?
I didn't.
I think the second was
The
the,
8th is
For the
budget.
ZA?
yeah, I think the second was what we were planning on for the ZA.
Okay, all right. And was that good with everyone? I mean, is that,
I mean, we kind
we,
of
we
planned
tabled
a-
Meeting, we're meeting the 2nd, the 8th, the 16th, and the 22nd?
Yeah, that's.
And I think the 2nd was good, and then that
starters.
changed to going with the planning commission meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we were planning on the second, and then we got into
Let's
discussing.
just do
going-
ZA on the 8th. It's 6 days. How many hours is Lee gonna log between the 2nd and the 8th?
Okay, so let's review. So are we doing something in a second?
I'm recommending we combine that with our meeting on the 8th.
Okay,
With
so
the
on the
budget.
8th,
So do it first on the 8th?
Yeah, do
and that's when
ZA.
we're gonna do,
ZA and budget,
okay, yep.
and then the 16th, town plan, and the 22nd is the second hearing. And a regularly scheduled
Yep.
meeting.
16th,
And
town plan.
pretty much up or down vote on the budget so that it can get to the print by the 29th.
Right.
Because we won't have another meeting.
Okay, 16th is town plan, got it. On the 8th, we're gonna do zoning,
On the 22nd?
22nd. I'm not gonna be here the 22nd. Okay. So we just said the 8th is budget and ZA. Budget and ZA.
You won't be here for the
I will
22nd?
not be here the 22nd.
You're okay with finalizing the budget?
Well, I think, you know, I think we're gonna be pretty much done with it. I think we're gonna sign the article.
Yeah.
And I get back on Saturday the 29th, I just come in and, I mean, I'd like to see my signature on the
Sure.
article, we're all agreement on it.
Right, before it goes to
So I
print.
don't think you're gonna be making changes on the 22nd,
Don't expect to be.
so. I will prepare a select board,
Yeah, that's been great in past years.
the one I do in here for, it goes in the book, and you guys can critique it to your heart's content, but I'll have that, what'd I say, Dean, first of the month or something. So then you guys take a look at it. That goes in here, and we can discuss what we do at town meeting at some other time.
You guys
Everybody-
gonna do the 850 item anytime soon?
Sure, let's do it right now.
Is it 8:50?
It's 9:35.
Okay, 850 item. Point acting health officer, Dean.
The wording in that is deputy health officer. So who is the health officer?
The zoning administrator. The deputy is Callie.
At this point in time, the
Cal
chair,
is the deputy
the
and
chairman.
receives no stipend. The zoning administrator is the health officer and
Right.
receives a monthly.
I'm it by default, so right today, I'm the health officer.
Okay.
So, I guess the question
cool.
is, who is doing what? I mean, if they're health officer things, who do you want them to be, who do you want to?
Well, I'd
do
like to nominate you as the health officer, acting health officer.
Not deputy.
No, we never said deputy.
Deputy's there.
Deputy's
In-
there,
in
but
he-
I wanted to confirm that because the health
acting here,
officer
isn't
gets a stipend.
I understand.
And I just did
Yeah.
my last monthly payroll.
Oh, you mean you'd pay
Yeah,
me?
it's deputy.
You mean you'd pay me if I
No, I
was?
did not.
Oh, darn.
Nobody instructed me who the health
That's
officer was, so you
Christina's
did not get
Me,
paid.
me, me.
Reference.
How much is it?
So I'm trying to clarify.
Dean, does it make sense for you to be the health officer? Or do you want someone else to do
Until
it?
you make the zoning until you hire a zoning administrator.
Okay. Anybody have any problem with that?
You have enough time with all of this going on to do that?
It's not great, I'll tell you.
Because I was thinking about nominating Christina.
Fine.
Does that conflict with
I don't know.
hourly, 40 hours a week?
Oh, I don't know.
Plus, you're already doing the cleaning.
Well,
I don't know, I think it either leave it, to me, either leave it someone on the select board or you. Leave it the way it is now, or Dean is what I would think.
Well, if there are situations that come up, if we leave it as you,
Yeah,
who's handling the cases?
The two situations that came up, I handled.
Okay, but you're handling them, but you're not the health officer.
I had forgotten, I thought it was lumped in with the appointments that were made previously for interim zoning administrator and sewage control officer and E911 coordinator, and I forgot about the health officer. So technically, I wasn't official, but I did handle them. It was a rental housing situation and a dog bite.
I think we should nominate Dean. Cases, how often do cases come up? Couple times a
You
year?
never know, yeah, it's pretty sporadic.
I was already had 2 in the last month.
So therefore, there won't be any more.
And
Wow.
I'm willing to assist at any point in time, like dog bite or anything like that. That is not a big deal because you do obviously have multiple and that kind of, I have the information on that stuff. So,
Yeah.
So what do you think, guys?
But I mean, whoever you assign, I just need to know who's going to be the health officer.
Is Callie doing the deputy health officer?
She's the deputy health, that's official. Yep, there's no compensation for
Does
that.
this involve you?
And she once was the health officer, right?
Right, it made more sense to make it zoning, somebody was in here full-time.
I'm fine if you want to do it.
It doesn't matter to me. The dog end is on our side a lot of times. I don't know anything about rentals or anything like that. I do think that it's kind of a hodgepodge of both sides of the building. It doesn't matter, I just honestly want to see.
Somebody in the select board take a position and make a
I'll
nomination.
appoint Dean, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Dean Block as the acting health officer.
Is that seconded?
Second?
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Good, thank you.
That's easy.
Don't
Okay. I think we're done.
One more, 8:45.
Oh, 8:45, we missed something?
Yes, the agreement to extend the agreement with Lee.
Oh,
That's what that is?
Yeah.
oh, I guess is there a motion to do that? To extend Lee to the
We're going
15th?
to amend the,
Thanks, Christine.
amended for contract extension with the Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission for professional services for Lee Cone until January 15th,
At-
2018, is that
At
what we're
this
doing?
rate, maybe you should make it January 30th.
January 30th, you wanna do that?
Yeah, because we're gonna cut it off as soon as we have somebody anyway.
Okay,
January 30th?
January 30th, 2018,
Yeah.
and
It's a Tuesday, 31st, I guess, is actually a Wednesday.
31.
31st, okay. And who's supposed to sign this? We got the authorized dean to sign it, is that what it says here?
Second.
Yes, that's been seconded. Any further discussion on that motion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion to adjourn?
Oh, wait, I have one quick thing. TDI withdrew,
No,
It was the green line, the
the
other.
green line went through.
which was from what section to what section?
It's just a different company. There's like 5, maybe 7 companies that made bids, and this particular company withdrew. What we're hearing is that TDI is a very, very strong player in this. They got all their permits, and so they haven't withdrawn.
Got
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Don't forget warrants, guys.